Hello there. Remoaners jumping on the anti-Brexit bandwagon. What a surprise. Now, before I start, I just want to update you. Rishi Sunak and Ursula von der Leyen have jointly hailed a decisive breakthrough in the Northern Ireland Protocol. They claim that the agreement, the Windsor Framework, has been reached and that the deal has been done. But MPs won't be voting on this until they've had time to pore over and digest the legalese small print. And at the post-agreement press conference, it seems to have removed the block for the UK to participate in the Horizon Science programme. But a couple of question marks remain. It is not sure which goods will be included for the customs green lane. And will customs forms still be needed for green lane goods? And how will the VAT changes be allowed without treaty changes? And will it get Joe Biden off our backs and get the French to assist more robustly on the Channel crisis? Now the heavy lifting starts now to try and convince the DUP and the ERG Brexiteers that this is the time to draw a line under the protocol issue. But will they be convinced? But what concerns me is the glee with which the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen received this, grinning from ear to ear like the Cheshire cat that's got all the cream. So UK supermarkets are lacking in certain produce, like tomatoes, lettuce, cucumber, peppers, raspberries and cauliflower, with tomatoes, lettuce and cucumber apparently being the scarcest, and the government has hauled the supermarket bosses to Downing Street to explain themselves. And the Remoaner rejoiners jump straight on the Brexit bandwagon and miss the truth completely. But they know that's what they're doing. They just play politics. And because they miss the true causes, they do not have a credible answer to the problem. Now the farmers and the press are pointing to a combination of weather conditions affecting crops in Spain and Morocco, two of our main suppliers, as well as farmers in the UK not producing these items due to the extremely high cost of energy in the UK. Energy costs that caused one of the UK's two large fertiliser plants to shut down permanently and the other to suspend production. Now ammonia is a central part of this, and the World Bank says ammonia production across the planet has fallen by 70%. This causes imported fertilisers to rocket in price across the world, so UK farmers took the view that it would ruin them to produce food they could not sell at a high enough price to even break even. Not only that, many UK farmers are pointing at the supermarket chains, saying that they are not prepared to pay farmers properly for the produce in the first place anyway, and are quite happy to see people go without and farmers getting nothing. Now, just to give this some credibility, the Morocco World News says that fruit and vegetable shortages are leading UK supermarkets to impose a limit on purchases. BBC News reported today that there is a limit on how many products one customer can buy, including lettuce, tomatoes, peppers and cucumbers. But it then goes on to explain that Morocco has responded to the shortage claims by noting that the extreme weather that has been sweeping the country has had a huge impact on fresh produce. Not only has the weather been affecting the country's agricultural output, but many of the ferries used to export the products have been delayed or altogether cancelled due to stormy weather. And Euronews also says that countries like the Netherlands had scaled back on tomato production due to high energy costs. And it also says, and according to media reports, Irish supermarkets have also reported depleted stocks of tomatoes and fresh produce, just like the UK. But while geography and related costs will be a factor there, Brexit won't be. What it really comes down to is UK energy security, food security and basic national security. We need to reduce the pressure to fill up available land with houses, solar panels and wind turbines, but instead make as much land food production friendly as we can. But it seems nations across the world are doing all they can to do just the opposite, doesn't it? Now the Labour Party will no doubt use this issue to batter the Tories with. But while researching for this video, I came across the following in the Mail. Chancellor held crisis talks with supermarkets and farmers yesterday over the spiralling cost of food. Consumers are facing punishing increases in the price of essentials, which are particularly hurting the poorest. And yet another from the Telegraph. Executives from Asda, Tesco and Marks and Spencer and a representative from the British Retail Consortium spent an hour with the Chancellor, who wanted an explanation for the level of food inflation. While there was also talk of the poorest around the world starving, just like today. But this was back in 2008 under a Labour government, and the Chancellor was Alistair Darling. There had been no pandemic, and there was no war raging in Europe, and most important of all, we were well inside the EU and no one was contemplating a Brexit vote, let alone Brexit itself. But the Labour supporters and anti-Brexit brigade will be very keen to point out that it was the credit crunch that caused the problems in 2008. And I would concur, but it was caused with the assistance of Labour policy. But being in the EU didn't help us. Now this has got to be a bit deranged, hasn't it? The Swedish climate expert Greta Thunberg has just been involved in protesting against wind turbines. Yes, Gurning Greta has given wind turbines the "how dare you" treatment. And why? Well, it transpires that wind turbines are frightening the animals. To be more specific, they are scaring the reindeer in Norway, and we can't have that, can we? These wind zealots have not a care for the general wildlife being affected by these things though, but the reindeer in the forests of Norway are another matter, it seems. And as far as I can see, the main gripe is not about the effect of the turbines on the animals themselves, but the detrimental effects they are having on the reindeer herders, the indigenous Sami reindeer herders. And St. Greta says that human rights of the herders go hand in hand with saving the planet. But what surprises me about all of this is that I'm told that Thunberg is a committed vegan. But I've also read that the Sami reindeer herders are involved in the production of meat and raw materials such as skins, bones and horns. Methinks our Greta is a little confused, or hasn't she actually got a clue about any of this? And at the same time, our eco-loons are arguing for the planting of ever more wind turbines across the UK to scare the bejesus out of our wildlife. Planks.